Hooray!
Live!
It's alive! Hello, everybody. If only my iPad would stop doing that. It keeps cycling off. Son of a mother. Hi, everybody. It is so great to be with you here at home, where it is safe, censorship-free, and 100% honest, common sense values. Oh, this is a big day, you guys. You know, and we've been working for this moment. This has been what we've been working for, and we've been talking about it for months and months. And I know a lot of folks out there are like, what? You're not going to be on Facebook? Why? Well, it's a very basic switch. It's one app store download, and then it's one button, boop, and then you're with us. So welcome. We're excited to be on our own platform with our own people, doing what we want to do, how we want to do it, without other people telling us what lane we should stay in. They can all... How's it looking in there, Brock?
It looks good so far.
So this is big news, and this is a la Jason Shepard, web developer extraordinaire, the mastermind behind the app.
Let me say some stuff.
I was just, okay, go ahead.
Let me say some stuff to get on. So because so many people are downloading the app, you will see some IP address exceeded things. It's because people waited too long to download the app. I don't want to be the one saying it, but and Google Play has been limiting it. That's why you get the error. And you are going to get a thing saying with your name and password. We don't save any of that.
Right. Look, the one place that you're safe, okay, is here. The only thing that we would ever do is send out a weekly newsletter.
That's still in the discussions.
And that's not even a thing yet. And you most likely have the opportunity to opt out of that. You know, we're not selling your information. You're not going to have all of a sudden a bunch of bots approaching you, this and that. Enough. That's not how we roll. But I want to tell you, in the App Store, after the video I did yesterday and the post we put up yesterday regarding the switch off of Facebook to this app, on the App Store right now, in the top global downloads, number 47, the Associated Press. Number 46, the BBC. Number 43, the Wall Street Journal. Number 42, Wendy Bell Radio. Number 40, ABC, 38, NBC, 37, USA Today. I bet you we beat them here in short order because of you. Because of you.
If they weren't limiting us to 500 downloads, we'd be way up there.
We were getting what per minute earlier?
In between 15 to 30 downloads per minute.
Wow. So this is we're ripping the, not just the Band-Aid, but the scab off, okay? And this is the way to do it. If people don't want to jump over, that's on them. But those of you who do, we appreciate you. Just know that, okay? Know that. This has been a labor of love, and as we've been honest with you from the very beginning, we are far from perfect. We are going to do whatever we can to make it work the best, and we appreciate your opinions and your viewpoints, and of course your love and support. Honestly, it goes without saying. I value you so much. It's not even funny.
And for the people who, this might not help if you can't have no sound. Upper right-hand corner, you have to unmute it. Yeah, but mine is upper right-hand corner.
Oh, on your iPad?
Yeah. Okay. So on the iPad, mine's the upper right-hand corner. For the Android, it's lower left with the player. Because my player didn't change. But this is a total learning lesson for us because we need to know how many people are truly going to want the app to find out how much we need to.
Jason looks stressed out. What are we at?
I'm just watching the numbers climb.
Good.
Right on. You know, Facebook, and I just said this the other day, I did a little video of my son loving our dog Murphy, and Murphy just melting in his arms and falling to the ground. And it was 20 seconds, and it had more views than our show did last week. And I was like, really? And they want to tell us that they're not censoring, silencing, squelching only certain opinions. Enough. I'm not the person to silence, sadly.
I've tried.
You try daily.
Yes.
How's that working for you?
How's your leg?
Wow. Brock shot me. Oh, he shot me. I nailed you too.
All I'm going to
I got you
say
too.
is you only got shot because I was protecting Joe's 6.
I was poised behind a
You were,
barrel.
and I just lit you up. It felt so good.
You know, there's that singular shot you can take, and then there's the.
No, I had to make
And
sure
I was like,
hit.
wow, payday's coming up here in just a few days.
I gave you the tat because that was when it
I didn't get the tat. I got a tat.
Be quiet.
And it's swollen. It was so much fun.
You've learned your lesson.
Battlegrounds.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Using facts to take on the woke politicians, triggered leftists, and the corporate media.
You just got to try harder not to suck.
Live across the fruited plain and from sea to shining sea, you're listening to the Wendy Bell radio program.
Oh, hello, America. It is absolutely fantastic to start another week right with you. Thank you so much for welcoming us into your homes, into your cars, wherever you watch or listen live to the Wendy Bell radio program. We are honored, as always, to spend time with you Monday through Friday for some common sense conservatism, because boy, oh boy, does America need us now more than ever. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Well, I certainly hope you guys had a wonderful Christmas, that you enjoyed some time off. I'm sure many of you are going to be home this week. We are going to be plowing through because you know what? Fact-checking, truth-finding, common sense, and reality do not take a day off. And so we will be here Monday through Friday, as we will forever. And I'm delighted to say that. So I wanted to start today's program. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about today. Always have a lot of stuff to talk about. But, you know, something very interesting happened in my house over the weekend. It's been something I have watched for the better part of a month and a half or so. Now, this has nothing to do with Christmas, all right? It has everything to do with watching one of my sons go down in a swirling ball of fire because of a science project. Okay, so this analogy, and I think you're going to be able to put all the pieces of this together. So a couple weeks ago, I think it was right before Thanksgiving, I was talking to you about the grow operation going on in my basement. My husband and I, several years ago, had a really good bumper crop of tomatoes. And we had grown this really cool hybrid tomato and we wanted to continue to grow it. So he's like, I wonder if we could just dry out the seeds of one of them, preserve them, and then plant them inside when the spring is about to bloom and get one of those lights so they can be in the little seedling cups and see if we can do that. Well, so we bought one of those lamps and lo and behold, it was a total failure. But I can tell you that it has spawned wonderful science projects among my 3 youngest sons. When you can grow something in the wintertime as part of your science project, which is invariably due right after Christmas break when you get back from the holidays, this is very advantageous. So one of my sons, let's just call a spade, Christopher, decided he was going to do a science project and he was going to try to see if earthworms help a plant grow faster. And his idea was, well, the earthworms, they wiggle through the dirt and they create air pockets, which is good for root formation. And they poop in there. And so there's some nutrients for the rooting of a plant. So he was going to do a thing where he was going to try to grow some beans. 3 cups were going to be beans that didn't have earthworms, and 3 cups were going to be the earthworm soil. So I watched him as he, had these benchmarked parameters that you've got to meet with your science project. And it was getting to be pretty last minute around Thanksgiving when he needed to have all of his supplies. Well, one needs earthworms, and I don't know about you guys, the earthworm factory isn't really doing a whole lot when the ground becomes dormant and you have your first chill. Nevertheless, I watched him postpone, delay going out and getting his supplies until the last minute when we had to make a frantic rush to Home Depot because he was certain that they sold earthworms. Pretty positive that they don't. But anyway, I decided I would go along with the charade and I would take my son to Home Depot and we would scour the aisles for earthworms, which right around Thanksgiving don't exist. Well, after that frustration, he got in the car. It looked like he was close to tears. And I said, well, Chris, where have you seen earthworms? Well, we have them in the vegetable garden in our yard. I said, well, why don't you go into the backyard with my shovel and see if you can dig up some worms to put into your experiment? Well, alas, he did. Found several, put them in his cup, decided to get his little beans, put the beans in the cups, covered them with dirt, stuck them under the lamp, and then proceeded to completely forget about them. I told him at one time, I said, Christopher, yeah, Mom, are you going to water your plants? Oh, snap. And he ran upstairs. He grabbed the watering can, came downstairs. He was proceeding to flood the liver out of these things. And I was like, no, wait a minute. There are some variables that you want in this experiment, but the water should not be one of them. You should have the same amount of water that you give to each cup, blah, blah, blah. That was the last time I interjected my parental guidance in Science Project Extravaganza. And as the days and the weeks limped forward and a little bud of something came up and it started to peek out over the dirt, and then it summarily died. And everything that he was trying to do was dead. So I asked him, I said, well, did you take notes? Did you use a little measuring stick? Did you get the little ruler and see, did you quantify how tall? Oh, yeah, I did that. I said, okay, so are you done with these cups now that everything's dead? Can I get rid of everything? Sure, yeah, it's done. The problem is, Chris took no notes. He took no photos of said experiment, and alas, his experiment is due in about a week and a half, and he's got nothing to show for it. I've watched this child swirl down the toilet bowl of failure, but I'm not going to swoop in and be like, well, I'll put together something for you. So I said to him last night, I said, well, Christopher, you need to at least create the illusion that you have data. He does have some chicken scratch notes about, well, this got this big and this did that. I said, you have no photographs to show that you actually cared about your project. So I watched him. He thought about it, got some work gloves, and I'm like, where's the child going now? So he marches out into the backyard in the rain, digs up 3 weeds, and comes back into the house. And he's proceeding to plant them in cups that simulate his original science experiment. Of course, there are no earthworms in them, but only we know that. And of course, now all of you and Christopher's science teacher. And so anyway, my son Michael looks at them and he says, those aren't the same plants. And I'm like, okay, there's a problem here, Chrissy, because you're growing the same seed. They can't, one be a strawberry plant, which is what he pulled from our garden, and one can't be garden variety weeds. There's got to be some continuity. He looked at me like I was completely crazy. I'm like, do you understand that you've grown the same seed, so each has to be the same? So he looks at me and he's like, well, what do I do now? And I was like, my man, I don't know, but you got to figure something out. You gotta salvage this. You've got to right this sinking ship, because not a single part of this project have you taken seriously. You've not followed scientific method. You haven't cared to monitor. You didn't take detailed notes. You didn't think to take any photographs. And now you've got to create a poster board that has no data, no science, no conclusions, and I'm not helping you out. Ladies and gentlemen, that's tough love, right? He's not going to get a good grade on that project, and he shouldn't. But as I'm looking at him, I'm seeing all these arrows of analogies going all over the place. What we've gone through over the last 2 years is worse than my 8th grader's failed science experiment. The problem is, much of it has been purposeful deception. It's one thing to actually dig into science, to have a hypothesis or a concern, and to come up with a strategy to try to examine it. It's an entirely different thing to use science to back up a political thing you're trying to push. And boom, that is where we are. I somewhat forgive an ambivalent and non-science enjoying middle schooler who didn't pay attention, who didn't take it seriously, who didn't understand that the only variable in the science project can be the earthworms. That's the only way you can glean any results whatsoever. And my son looked at me blankly, not really understanding that. It's one thing when you're talking to a 13-year-old. It's an entirely different thing when the powers that be, the scientists you're told to trust, the people who have wrought total havoc on all of us, add new variables or change the hypothesis or modify the experiment, all so that their political narrative and their control stays intact. The cool thing about today's program, though, which I really enjoy, is that it's not just me, Chris's mom, saying, hey, Chris, we've got a problem here. You've got to do this, this, and this. In my greater analogy of where we are as a country, more and more people are saying, hey, Houston, this isn't working anymore. This does not add up. Your science is not scientific at all. And some of the biggest players in the shutdown and the masking and the jabs and the economic disasters and the people who've died in nursing homes, some of the biggest players are being called out for their failed science experiment. The problem is, my son is the one who will pay the price for his ambivalence. You and I and everyone we love will pay the price for what our government has allowed to happen until each and every one of us stands up and says, not anymore. So I haven't told my husband this, but I meet to shoot another video with my friend Dr. Darren Dubiak this coming week at bodybyaim360.com. And I'm going to bite the bullet, and I'm going to get my husband a $199 gift certificate to get the blood work done and to get the original analysis with Dr. Darren Dubiak so my husband's weight loss and wellness journey can begin. You've got to hit the point in your life where you look in the mirror and you say, I don't like this anymore. I don't have time to run 5 miles every day, and I'm not spending the time to put together the meals I need to. I need help. And the help begins with knowing what's going on inside of your body. And that is that $199 prescription to have the most extensive blood work done you've ever had. That is the roadmap to Body by AIM 360. and their ability to help you lose weight, get your body straight, and feel the way you deserve to feel. This might not be your time. You might want to get through the holiday, through New Year's. But when it is that time, and when you wake up and you look in the mirror and you say, I'm not going to do this anymore, 412-227-9255 is the number to call. BodybyAIM360.com. We're going to go through it, and I encourage you to take my hand and to do it with us. All right, we're going to take a short break. We're going to kind of dig into some stuff. One of the big, I think, spotlights on the pushback right now is a Rasmussen poll I want to share with you. Came out over the weekend. Very telling, even if you don't believe polls. This shows that the experiment, the scientific experiment we've been all under for so long, is unraveling at a very rapid pace. Don't miss it. Coming up next on the Wendy Bell Radio program. Did that make sense?
Oh my gosh,
Okay.
I love
The hardest part is watching him and knowing it's all going to blow up. Because you know what? There are those parents who spend hours putting together their children's experiment for them. I'm like, there's no learning that goes on there. And by the way, this is his third year in middle school. This is his third science experiment. If you're not taking it seriously at this point, you pay the price.
right.
Not me. I'm done. Of course, Joe has no idea any of this is going on. So he's sitting on the couch. He's sitting on the couch while Chris and I are having this conversation from second floor to first floor. He's looking up at me going, what do I do? And Joe's like, wait, what's going on? And I was like, you don't need to know.
Yeah.
You're on a need to know basis, and this doesn't have to
Stay
be.
checked out, Joe.
I'm like, I got it. You're good. I have to walk him through this. He's got to feel the agony of defeat. And Brock was like, well, what if his science teacher is watching? I'm like, A, she's not. But B, he's going to get at least a point for creativity. He'll end up spending more time now than he would have if he had just spent the 3 minutes a day if monitoring his science experiment.
Can I say I'm a little worried about AIM?
Why? So Brock's going to go through the
Yes.
Body by AIM 360 program as well. Why are you worried about it?
I don't know. I don't know if I want to know.
Sure you want to know. Here's the thing. And Brock asked me this. He's like, do they make you take all this medication, like these drops that are nothing more than glorified appetite suppressants? No. No, they don't. They teach you about your body so that when you go out and you want to eat out, you know what you need to stay away from because it's not good in your gut. Simple as that. It's not about restricting your joy. It's about making the right choices and staying on track. You're going to be great. You're going to be great. I'm going to do it with Joe.
The
I'm
nice
gonna do
thing
it.
is I'll be held accountable here. Even on the I'll be held accountable.
You'll hold
You
yourself
can yell.
accountable.
You can all yell at me daily.
Well, that means the Twizzlers and all the jazz that our friend Deanie sent from.
Yeah, which we'll go over there. That's why I'll give it a week. Let me enjoy a week.
I think that's probably Joe's on call on New Year's, so he's got 12 days straight. I think once he gets through that, he's going to get ready to go.
Yeah.
He can get the blood work in there, and then on the flip side, yes.
Here we go.
How's it going, Jason?
He's stressed.
I think the greatest takeaway of the science experiment story is that Chris is a twin, and his 13-year-old twin brother, Bobby, hasn't even started his science experiment. Okay. So Chris, as he's sitting there, literally on the brink of a nervous breakdown, as much as one can over a science experiment, trying to grow garbanzo beans. By the way, did you know that you could grow Yeah, I didn't either. I'm not so sure you can. Maybe that was problem number one. Alas, he made the decisions. His brother hasn't even started. So Chris was like, well, Bobby hasn't even started. And I was like, this isn't about Bobby. He's got his own bed to lie in. So we're going to have an emotional unraveling at my household. But don't you have to go through these things as parents? Don't you have to watch in a tender but firm way as your children make decisions that aren't the best decisions so that they can understand consequences? Better to understand consequences now with something as benign as a science experiment than when you're 16 years old behind the wheel of a car. Now, as we take it out in the satellite view and look at the big picture all around us, we should not be having the same philosophy, the same idea with our government. I think we collectively as a people, the last time we all, regardless of political proclivities and whatnot, the last time we really joined forces and put all the nonsense behind us was when it was 15 days to slow the spread. I think we could all agree. I can stay home or I can stay distant from people for that amount of time for the common good, for everybody's benefit, so that we can all walk through what was an uncharted territory together. And then it became something much more than 15 days. And then it wasn't just staying home. It was your business being threatened to be taken away from you. It was people being fined. It was nursing home residents being treated like prisoners. And then it devolved into this one size fits all, must have a vaccine. But the train is derailed. This, I think, is very telling. Even 41% of Democrats now believe it's somewhat likely that cheating affected the outcome of the 2020 presidential election. It's almost as though this crazy land that we've all been forced to live in is now shining a greater light on all these ancillary things we've been talking about for a long time. And some people are slow to come over. Some people are slow to pay attention. They're slow to awaken. But this poll by Rasmussen suggesting that 41% of Democrats now believe is at least somewhat likely that cheating affected the 2020 election. Don't tell me that this is a big lie. Don't tell me that it's only 15 days. Don't tell me it's for the greater good. Because we are smarter than that. We pay close attention to the variables of this experiment. And when the variables are constantly changing, the experiment blows up in your face. And that is where we are, where it's not just right-wing extremist Trumpers who are saying these things. It's people, regardless of background, waking up and saying, okay, now this is just getting stupid. You want to do what over a new variant that's been connected to what? One man's death? And you want to go through this again? No. Not again. Not now. Not me. Not ever. This is where we are. And again, as I've said, all these things have had to take place. All these ridiculous overreaches, all the lies, the manipulation, all the Fauci talking moments have greased it for this time. It is not about insurrection. It is about taking America back from the people who've wanted to do something really dark with it. All right, when we come back, why Aaron Rodgers and Erin Andrews are an important part of today's show. Don't miss it. Coming up next on the Wendy Bell Radio program.
Dr. Rafferty, what do you do when you have a
You know, it is a perfect time for me to thank Piccadilly Chimney Sweeps and all of the many sponsors and radio stations who've supported us here at the Wendy Bell radio program, and also our message and our mission. And our newest sponsor is Piccadilly Chimney Sweeps. It is that time of year now, a time that we like to settle in front of the fireplace and have a crackling fire. It is that time of year to also consider, when was the last time somebody who's a professionally trained and certified chimney sweep was sniffing around the inside of your chimney to make sure that it and everything but, a part of it is safe and on the up and up for you. If it's been a while, I've got a great company for you, and they are Piccadilly Chimney Sweep. They've been involved in this line of work, cleaning chimneys and inspecting fireboxes, inspecting liners for 35 years. Piccadilly Chimney Sweeps is two brothers own this business, and each of their chimney sweeps is certified. They go through this rigorous certification process. They are affordable, they are clean, they are courteous, and I believe in what they do. So if it's time for you to get your fireplace, your chimney inspected and cleaned, here's the number, 412-221-0196. They operate in Allegheny, Beaver, and Washington counties in Pennsylvania, and they are fully insured. PiccadillyChimney.com.
Guys, we're aware of the sound that's skipping on some of it. You have to understand, we've had 667 downloads since the beginning of the show. So not only are we getting, there's stress on the actual stream, but this all works together. So when we're getting downloads at the same time the stream's going on because people waited and panicked, that's why it's happening. It's being extremely stressed, which is, I know you don't want to hear this, which is good news, because it lets us know where we have to change things to get it working. But I see the stream. Jason sees the stream. Everybody just putting sound cutting in and out. Some are fine. We understand that. So please bear with us. You don't need to send me messages. You don't need to send us emails.
We got it.
We understand. Partly they don't need to hear me say this. I'm kind of hoping this happens. If it happens on day one, chances are it's not going to happen on day 3 or 4 or 5. Hopefully it doesn't happen on day 2, but unless we know how much stress the stream and how many people are going to use it until we see that, we can't fully, do you mind if I say numbers? So if we get over 3,000, 3,500 people on a regular basis, if we're getting it at a good rate, AWS, which is Amazon, which is the service that Parler uses. Oh, that's right. They got canceled. But it's the big service. It's Amazon Web Service. That costs $10,000
a month.
Is it 10 or 8,500?
85. What we did was based on 3,000. It was 86, 88.
Yeah, $8,600 a month. So, for us to just jump in and say, we think 8,000 people are going to use this, that would cost us $20,000
a month.
So that's why we have to take these small steps to where, unfortunately, I know people are going to stop watching because of the glitches. I get it. If you want to continue to watch, but you want the radio sound, which you won't get the banter between Wendy and I, which you'll be fine without, Lightner Communications is an app. It's the first radio station.
Our flagship station in Altoona.
WRTA. They have just the radio app. Lightner Communications is the app. If you want to download it, you can still hear the radio show.
By the way, guys, on the Wimkin webpage, we've had 1,349 views already, meaning those are individuals watching.
Wow.
In addition to the 3,000. So
with 3,000 in that,
so we're 4,400 people watching.
Average, right? I mean, from what you would normally have on Facebook.
No, they've been silencing us for who knows.
Yeah.
That's why we're doing this, you guys.
And we do appreciate you guys being our guinea pigs. Like I said, if we don't know how many people are going to use the app, it's financially irresponsible for us to just go out and purchase. If you guys aren't going to use the app, there's no need for us to spend extra money to have things working. So Lightner, LIG
HTNER.
Communications.
Light NER. Our flagship station, WRTA in Altoona.
And Jason is trying to do our app along with the Wimkin stuff. So if you're waiting you're pending an approval, he's gonna work on that right now. We can only beat that horse so much.
I'll get them approved right now.
I'll get you a beer after work.
Oh, yay.
I'm going to be massaging the ego of an 8th grader. I had a great opportunity, as I'm sure many of you did, to catch up with family members, spend time with Joe's family over Christmas and even last night. Spent some time with my family on a FaceTime call, got to see all of them at my sister's house. I have 2 nephews, so my sister and I together have 7 sons, which is really fun, and to watch everybody, to hear everybody. And as I was watching and just catching up with family, it really hit me over the weekend how much each of us is a product of the sources of information we expose ourselves to. There was a member of my family who was unfamiliar with the Let's Go Brandon story. Didn't understand what was that? What does that mean? Now, certainly this is something I've talked about, that we've talked about, and in social media circles, you'll see people posting stuff about it, for sure. And yet this member of my family was completely unaware that Let's Go Brandon was a thing. It makes sense. You are a product of the information you choose to get. If 60 Minutes is your source of information, or the nightly news with Nora O'Donnell, which is now pushing out these ads. Have you guys seen this? If you watch local, even national news, all putting out these public service announcements, claiming to their viewers that they are an unbiased source of news. When you need unbiased information, come to us. Isn't it pathetic that one has to even say that? Because reputations have been sullied in the last 2, 3, 4 years, to the point where the obvious bias is so in your face that Nora O'Donnell or David Muir or Lester Holt or, Don Lemming or anybody coming on camera and looking at you and imploring you to trust them, we're done with the theater. The unraveling has already happened. Case in point. Behold this theater. I love this story. The whole social distancing at sports, interviews at halftime or after the game is so preposterously stupid, and everybody knows it. It's sort of like when your local news station has a reporter standing somewhere near a bridge talking about something, and there's nobody within, 500 yards of them, and they've got the theater of the mask on, to create this illusion of I'm playing for the team. I'm following the rules. Well, at some point, there's great common sense in saying, you realize that you look like an idiot. You realize that there has not been one single study on cloth masks doing anything to keep us safe. Period. And if you know of one, I challenge you to please share it with me. wendybellradio@gmail.com. I welcome the discourse, and I challenge you to find one that unequivocally proves that masks are doing a darn bit of anything for anybody. So I guess over the weekend, Aaron Rodgers, being interviewed by Fox Sports' Erin Andrews. She's standing the requisite 6, 10, 12 feet away from him. She's got her big white parka on. She's wearing a mask. Aaron Rodgers is not. We know Aaron Rodgers has been widely besmirched in media circles because he decided to not get the jab for his own personal and health reasons. And alas, like I have, has recovered from COVID. So they're talking, there's this interview, it's awkward, it's theater. Everybody watching with a functioning brain says, you know what, can we just get on with this? Because your display to show how good you are at following the rules just makes me dislike you. Then as the camera is done, the interview is done, she walks over, he puts his arms around her, and she gives him a big hug. The Twitter sphere went bananas. Oh my God. People going crazy. Really? Aaron Rodgers, Fox Sports' Erin Andrews, blasted for hugging after socially distanced interview. I can tell you right now, just off the top of my head, 20, maybe 30 more newsworthy things that we should be talking about. Like, I don't know, first blush, the 50 Americans who are stuck in prison in Washington, D.C. because of the insurrection being denied due process. I mean, maybe we could talk about that before we worry about a dude and a chick hugging. Really? Sports fans were a bit confused during Saturday's NFL broadcast when Fox Sports' Erin Andrews conducted a socially distant interview with Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers, but for some reason hugged him at the end. Well, I'll give you the reason. Because the masks are theater. The social distancing is stupid. We know this. And yet Fox still plays the game. Aw, you guys are so good. The famously unvaccinated Rodgers. The famously unvaccinated. Do you know what made him famously unvaccinated? His common sense. His desire to look into the ingredients of the mRNA elixir, and him consulting his own medical team and finding an allergy in it that isn't good for him. You know what also made him famously unvaccinated? Him jumping through all the ridiculous hoops that the Packers, in their own political theater, made him jump through. All the while, how many NFL players are getting COVID who are fully vaccinated? That's the theater. Not that Aaron Rodgers is famously unvaccinated, but that we famously don't have common sense anymore in this country. After the game, Andrews brought her camera to the field to interview the winning QB, but viewers saw that Andrew was very careful to keep about 6 feet away from Rodgers. Every time I see it, I see Aaron Rodgers, who was wearing a headset with a mic. But as soon as Andrews wrapped up the talk, Andrews then walked over and gave the quarterback a hug. This is This just in. People are acting like normal human beings again. What? Listen to some of these ridiculous tweets. Tweet, Aaron Andrews hugging Aaron Rodgers at the end of a socially distanced interview is the TV equivalent of wearing your mask on the way to the table and then taking it off for the rest of the meal. Yes. Yes. It's not Aaron Andrews' decision to stand there with the mask, right? It's her freaking network. Well, we're going to do whatever we can to make people think that we're actually following the rules, even though we think the rules are as stupid as everybody else because the mask isn't doing anything, and neither is the vaccine. But do it anyway. Until that slice of reality slips in. Aaron Andrews hugging Aaron Rodgers at the end of a socially distanced interview is the TV equivalent of wearing your mask on the way to the table and then taking it off for the rest of the meal. Or just being Joe Biden and not wearing it all when you're in the restaurant. Here's this one. Fox Sports sideline reporter Erin Andrews does the fake 6 feet thing in interviewing Aaron Rodgers, then hugs him afterward. Well, as long as we're all on the same page of fakeness, I'm good. Right? Right? Here's another one. So Aaron Rodgers is interviewed after the game by a sideline reporter who keeps her distance. After the interview is over, he and she think the camera is off and they hug and cheek kiss. So I guess this social distancing was just for show, you think? And finally, there's this one. Why does any reporter shake hands with or hug Aaron Rodgers after his vaccine issues? Ladies and gentlemen, what we have now is the freedom of choice. You can freely choose to be afraid of everyone and everything because you've chosen to watch 60 Minutes, or you've selected the New York Times as your daily news source, or you believe Nora O'Donnell is the way to go. But if that's the case, you've been getting an awful lot of fear and panic for the last 2 years. Or you can choose common sense and say that none of this adds up because it was never supposed to. I believe the bigger story is one that you are not going to see on any of the aforementioned media outlets. And I think it's important because it comes from The Atlantic. Now, The Atlantic is a publication that is anything but moderate or conservative. In fact, as I was relaying this article to my husband over the weekend, I said, "Did you see the article in The Atlantic?" And he kind of looked at me puzzled, and I presumed he wasn't familiar with The Atlantic. I said, "Well, that's a left-wing, blah, blah." And he said, "Is there anything other than a left-wing publication anymore?" And I was like, "Well, touche. Well done." So when The Atlantic comes out and blows the lid off of, quote unquote, the science that the CDC's own director has used again and again and again, specifically to force your children to sit in school for 8 hours a day, wearing a completely irrelevant and harmful piece of equipment on their face, i.e. the mask, I think this is a significant story. And this Atlantic article, and I'm going to go into here in just a minute, I'm going to go through some of the specifics. If you listen to your regular news outlets, and they're going to take a soundbite of CDC Director Rochelle Walensky imploring us to protect our children with the masks, the studies show it absolutely is doing a good job. If you go beyond that, and you start doing a little digging on the alleged studies, and then you go even further into the studies and you find out the limitations of the studies. There is not a scientist worth their salt on planet Earth who would make the leap that face masks for children have been anything other than theater. And kudos to The Atlantic for pointing it out. The same Atlantic, by the way, who in a moment, I'm going to play some sound from their senior editor. That will blow your mind. Actually, it won't, because you're used to the ridiculousness of where we are with theater today. The CDC director gets brutal reality check. Mask study on school children is exposed as fake. This is just one small part, one cog in the wheel of control and dictatorship and mandates and insatiable thirst for power that is starting to unravel. Every single one of these things that we've spoken to you about over the past 2 years, I firmly believe will follow the same exact track. The Simkovich Concussion Institute invites you or anyone you know who has suffered a concussion or a traumatic brain injury from whatever it was, sports or an accident, to just pick up the phone and make that appointment for your no-cost consultation. You know how it feels when you're not right. Can you imagine something as delicate, as precious as your brain being injured? And the unraveling of so much of your life around that. Can you imagine living like that and not feeling as though there was any place to turn for help or hope? But there is. And it is the Simkovich Concussion Institute. A friend of the show, Dr. Charles Simkovich, has developed a revolutionary treatment, non-surgical. Most of his patients see results in less than a week, and he has more than 10,000 success stories. Get in touch with them today. Make that appointment. 412-366-3700. Simkovich Concussion Institute.com. All right, we're going to step aside quickly in just a matter of moments. I'm going to come back. Let's walk through this. Can you believe that the director of the CDC has been pushing garbage, that she's known as garbage, and that the collateral damage is your children? It's coming up next on the Wendy Bell Radio program. Can you believe that one person saying, who would ever want to shake hands with it?
It just shows you. Shows your stupidity.
I feel for these are people who have to somehow go function in reality. These are the people who have the nervous breakdowns on the airplanes and freak out over people who are taking down their mask to take a sip of their Dr. Pepper or whatever.
Wendy's shirt is from the battlegrounds where we went yesterday and shot each other.
We're going to talk about that coming up.
And
proud member of the LGBFJB community. That is,
they came in.
It's outstanding. And oh my, the people who are triggered by that, I do feel for them. There's so much more that you should be spending your energy on.
I'm just going to keep mentioning this, and it's going to get repetitive. A lot of people are saying the sound was good when you started, right? Because a lot of people who didn't download it this weekend panicked and started downloading. We're over 1,000 downloads for today.
Oh my gosh!
So while they're downloading the app, you're trying to listen, and what it does is it's taking all the servers together to download and play at the same time.
Meanwhile, I'm watching the stream, and I can only say that I look fabulous. I mean, let's just put that out there. I mean, wow, nothing. He's serious today.
So this number,
let's see.
It says 74%.
75%. Yeah.
Right? Should be around what, Jason? 20?
It'll be like 20 tomorrow.
What does that mean?
That means it's using 75% of the server is working, like to get everybody downloaded.
Yeah.
But this is, I know you guys probably don't want to hear this. This is great information for us to have.
Yeah. Because
it lets us know how much we need down the road. So this is good. I know it's not optimal to listen to maybe, but like I said, Leitner Communications, you can go and download his app. I'm sure he'll be happy. He's probably happy it's choppy too, because he'll get some downloads.
Well, this is
it's a learning experience. You guys, we're taking you along everywhere else, so welcome. I'm your ship director, Brock.
Captain Stubing, permission to come aboard. Howard, go for a dog. I love that.
We got the cabin boy Jason over here.
Right.
We got your hostess here.
You're the first mate.
I'm your cruise director.
Cruise director, yes.
So I want to get into this, and I don't think I'm going to be able to blast through all of it right now. But I think if there was one singular issue that has been the most nonsensical, the most unproven, the most baseless, it is this whole notion that putting masks on children makes sense. Children under the age of 18 who have a 99.995% chance of survival with COVID. Children who we know are not vectors of disease here and are not spreading it like little petri dishes to their grandparents. We know this. This is the caving to the teachers' union and a lot of people who don't want to work. Let's just call a spade a spade. Is that every teacher? Hell no. There are some phenomenal educators out there. Phenomenal. Sadly, the teachers' union has become as corrupt as our government. It's just a thing, okay? So we have to push back on it. How about this story from The Atlantic? CDC director gets brutal reality check. Mask study on school children is exposed as fake. My question is, how long will it take for Dr. Rochelle Walensky to have the guts to save face, to save any semblance of professional dignity she has left, and to come out and say, not only was I wrong, I should have stood up to the powers that forced me to do this. Because make no mistake, this has been a concerted effort. When you have people living in fear, they are much more malleable, much more easy to control. Now, even The Atlantic has had enough and is calling out CDC Director Walensky for misleading the public, the article goes, even if it is in a tamer manner than is required. Unfortunately, it provides very poor evidence to support its claims. In the opening of its article, and we're going to briefly address that before getting into the story's debunking of the director's claims. This is the article. It begins like this. The debate over child masking in schools boiled over again this fall, even above its ongoing high simmer. The approval in late October of COVID-19 vaccines for 5 to 11-year-olds was, for many public health experts, an indication that mask mandates could finally be lifted. Yet with cases on the rise in much of the country, along with anxiety regarding the Omicron variant, other experts and some politicians have warned that plans to pull back on the policy should be put on hold. How many of you are really anxious about Omicron? How many of you woke up on Christmas morning worried to death that you were going to get it? How many of you have completely stopped how you live your life because Omicron? I don't know anybody. I'm sure there's somebody out there, and I feel for you. So anxiety here has nothing to do with science, apparently. The Omicron variant has been compared to the common cold, and is even doubtful whether or not it's responsible for the loss of one life here in the United States, a man who we've told you was sick, had other conditions. Yet with cases on the rise in much of the country, along with anxiety regarding this, people are starting to panic. No, they're not. The effects of the variant have been described as, quote, generally mild for both the vaccinated and unvaccinated groups. And this may be, in fact, due to natural immunity, my friends, natural and herd immunity. Scientists generally agree that, according to the research literature, wearing masks can help protect people from the coronavirus. But the precise extent of that protection, the article goes on, particularly in schools, remains unknown, and it might be very small. This is, in fact, highly incorrect, my friends. Incorrect. It is once again a shoddy appeal to the consensus that does not constitute actual science. Science entails falsifying claims. There are a variety of masks. There have been different characteristics. And we know for a fact that the cloth ones do nothing at all. And yet, Rochelle Walensky has decided to double, triple, quadruple down. We're going to blow up 3 of the studies that she has on the CDC website right now to back up her claim that kids must be masked forever. I'm going to dismantle them easily in the next 5 minutes. It's time for our kids to breathe again. You're listening to the Wendy Bell radio program. Don't go anywhere. Back right after this. I I hate when they try to manipulate science to push their politics. Infuriates me.
You know, I think we're a lot more cognizant of the fact that they do that. So now it makes me, how long, you know, obviously they've been doing a while. This isn't their first rodeo, but.
Great opportunity for us to thank our sponsor, Nemacolin Country Club. What? Are we over it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
You know what? Can we say quickly something about Nemacolin Country Club?
Sure.
I really appreciate a business that believes in what we do and that wanted to start a special program, a special incentive for people on this radio program. And that is what our friends at Nemacolin Country Club did. For the month of December through Christmas, they offered a wonderful promotion, and I hope.
I'm sure if you called them today.
And I hope that they have gotten a wonderful response from our Wendy Bell Radio family. I want to thank you guys for what you do with our sponsors. Like, we've been detailing the expense of what we're trying to do. We don't make a salary here. You know, we're doing this grassroots, and it's exhilarating and frightening at the same time. But we're in it for the long haul. And so we appreciate people like Nemacolin Country Club helping out our bottom line. I didn't know if they wanted to go through the end of the month. That's all.
I'm thinking if you probably called them, they wouldn't have a problem.
They're great. All right, so I will put that away. I can't wait to show you some of this debunking of the mask studies. It takes so little to dig a little bit deeper into what they're doing. And yet so many people are just accustomed to eating up everything they serve to us. And I won't do that. Any updates, gentlemen?
No, just sure. It's the same thing as people. I mean, like I said, we can continue to say it's the people, and I say this jokingly. It's the people who pulled Chris's science project to wait to download the app. I don't know if you guys thought we weren't serious, but it's a lot of the people that are downloading the app today that's just straining the server. Like you said, I showed you the thing before. Usually with the stream is around 25%, you know, the computing. And we're at 74 or 75% right now. It just puts a strain on.
This is a good time to do it, though.
Yes, this
is what we're thinking, and I hope. I'm sure a fair number of you aren't working this week, and we thought that this was an appropriate time to share with you. This is how we want to envision this. And will there be a time that we are on Facebook too? I don't know. I don't know if they will be fair to us. I don't know if taking a week off will re-scramble their algorithm, which has squelched us to such a ridiculous degree. I don't know if I really want to be a part of what they do.
It will be on Wimkin too. So I think if we come back to social media, you know, we may come back to Facebook for a little bit. It's a business decision, but I know we'll be on Wimkin. So definitely sign up for that. Jason's frantically approving people.
So what is that? What you have to approve people who do what?
So anybody who signs up for Wimkin, we've had the left, we've had, you know, a lot of individuals try to, you know, sign up for fake profiles and troll. So we do a little, you know, investigation on them beforehand. Because of these people coming in right now under, you know, the Wendy Bell Radio, I can see where they're coming from. IP addresses is all we actually ever have. I can approve them in mass, but again, it's just to keep the platform clean. So, but real quick, I'll get into some IT stuff. We did add 3 different servers which have content delivery networks as well as load balancers. So tomorrow, if it does get overloaded on one server, you guys will be spread out and there won't be issues like this. But please have your people download the app before the show, because that's what's really causing this. We've had 1,300 downloads since 9 a.m.
And we are not on the iHeart app. So Leitner Communications, if we're on the iHeart app, that's news to us. We're not affiliated with them at all.
Is somebody saying we are?
Yeah. No, maybe one of the radio stations that took us. I mean, we didn't know we were on in Tennessee. So.
No problem, I guess.
No, I mean, I just don't want people to say it's on the iHeart because
It's on
I can
our
tell
app.
you where it's at. You know, I know it's on Leitner Communications. We're not doing Rumble. We're not doing Gab. We're not even going to bother trying. You can find Wendy Bell right now in 2 places. The Wendy Bell Radio News or Radio Bell Network app and Wimkin. Oh boy.
Just give into it, Brock. Give into the fabulosity.
I'm busy. Leave me alone.
No, this is.
How
You
do
can
I
breathe
find-
it
how
in.
do I
Just
find the
feel
last name
it.
on Wimkin? If you sign up for Wimkin, it's on the homepage.
On the web version, guys. We're not doing it on the app yet, so
Yes, it's just on the web. This was so we had because a lot of people were saying
Your
I don't
chat
watch on
is
my phone.
working. Is that? Yes, your app is working. Yes, your chat working. Yes, yes. Wendy, you saved for your mug for Christmas. Yay! That makes me happy.
I got the best Christmas gift ever.
Silence away from me.
Shooting you while you were trying to annihilate your husband felt good. It felt like Joe and I bonded over
Yeah.
that. Here we go.
Using facts to take on the woke politicians, triggered leftists, and the corporate media.
You just got to try harder not to suck.
Live across the fruited plain and from sea to shining sea, you're listening to the Wendy Bell radio program.
So when liberal media starts calling out the garbage at the CDC, one would think there would be a quick about face. One would think somebody would come out and say, you know what? We need to change our policies. We need to be honest. We who have been imploring you to trust the science and to follow the experts have been using BS studies for a reason, and that is to control you and your families. And that is reprehensible, ladies and gentlemen. I want to walk through the 3 studies. It is beyond. The mom in me does not understand how another human being could hurt somebody else for their own political or egocentric gain. I simply don't understand it. There are people all over this country I disagree with. People I'm positive I don't really like. I would never want to hurt one of them purposefully for my own ego or gain. And yet we've got 74 million children under the age of 18 in this country who not only have been masked when we know it's garbage, when we know it's detrimental, when we know it doesn't do anything other than restrict their ability to breathe and to grow and to learn naturally, effectively, and well. Not only have we done that, now the rabid push to jab something into everybody's body. At what point does the lunacy end? Well, this parent says it ends here. Let's go into these studies. On the CDC's own website, to back up her ludicrous claim that it makes sense for kids to sit around. Kids who, by the way, suicide rates through the roof, drug abuse rates through the roof, reports of isolation, depression. through the roof anxiety and stress. Yeah. Thanks, Dr. Walensky. Your fingerprints are all over this. One of her studies that she claims is reason for your kids to sit around, still 2 years later, wearing a friggin' mask, specifically if you're in a blue state, because blue states are run by blue leaders who are clone troopers, not free thinkers, not reasonable, rational individuals. They walk lockstep. There is one path. It is the only one. What a shame. This particular study, the first one, suggests schools with no mask mandates in Arizona were 3.5 times more likely to experience a COVID quote unquote outbreak than those with a mask mandate. The study, in fact, published on the CDC's own Morbidity and Mortality Weekly Report. This is the source of science our leaders are telling us we've got to pay attention to, and it's fraudulent at best. So what they did is they looked at school-associated COVID outbreaks in Maricopa and Pima counties in Arizona. They probably should have been looking at rampant election fraud in those counties, but alas, let's pay attention to something else. And what they did is they took a finite period of time, July 15th of this year to August 31st. In Arizona, school begins earlier than it does in other places in the country. And according to the CDC, in quoting this study, 16 out of 210 schools with mask mandates, 16 out of 210 suffered at least one outbreak of COVID. On the flip side, 113 out of 480 schools without mask mandates suffered. So when they do the math, comparing apples to tire irons, they come up with this number, a 3.5 times fold increase, they allege, in the schools without the mask mandates being more susceptible to COVID outbreaks. Unfortunately, however, after reviewing the school calendars, it turned out that only a small fraction of the schools were open at any point in July. In fact, some schools didn't start until July 19th, July 21st. Others didn't begin until August 10th. So students in the group that started in July had twice as much time, 6 weeks versus 3 weeks, to develop a COVID outbreak. Do you understand where I'm going with this? If schools with mask mandates had fewer school days during the study, that could explain the discrepancy. Well, we're not going to talk about that. We're just going to use the findings. This is what we found. Don't worry about the limitations. Any study using masks as a variable needs to isolate masks as that variable. That's not what's going on, my friends. The CDC specifically went searching for something, anything, to justify its political decision that was made in response to the teachers' union. Now we have a childhood mental health crisis. Why don't we actually start listening to the science instead of making the science listen to our politicians? Listen to the science. Don't force the science to listen to politicians. The second study out of Bangladesh. They studied 340,000 people in 600 villages, and they claimed that an increase in surgical mask use led to a decrease in the spread of the virus in certain age groups. The number 11%. 11% is not statistically significant, and it was only in people over the age of 50. What does that have to do with children? What does that have to do with children COVID transmission? Oh, that's right, nothing. The study was called an outright embarrassment and black eye for research. Proof of malfeasance or incompetence. That's how researchers who evaluated that study, that CDC Director Walensky has put on the freaking CDC website as a basis of encouraging children to remain masked. That's what they called it. And the third study out of Georgia, they found that COVID was 37% decreased in schools when staff were required to wear masks, and 20% decreased where kids were masked. Except there were major limitations of the study, ladies and gentlemen, but don't let the limitations change the takeaway of the headline. Masks work. Well, how about this for a limitation? Only 11% of schools participated in the survey. Can you really extrapolate anything when 1 in 10 schools is actually cooperating? For everybody else, there was data missing, or they didn't even participate. I want you to hear something. It was a moment of clarity and honesty, and it came in a very unusual place. Face the Nation with Margaret Brennan. A woman named Jan Crawford is going to speak out against how we have irreparably hurt our children. Listen to this moment. It is astonishingly honest and darn right correct. Go.
Well, I want to get to underreported stories as well. Jan?
For me, I mean, my kids hear me rant about this every day, so I may as well tell you guys. It's the crushing impact that our COVID policies have had on young kids and children. By far, the least serious risk of serious illness. But I mean, even teenagers, a healthy teenager has a 1 in a million chance of getting and dying from COVID, which is way lower than dying in a car wreck on a road trip. But they have suffered and sacrificed the most, especially kids in underrepresented, at-risk communities. And now we have the Surgeon General saying there's a mental health crisis among our kids. The risk of suicide attempts among girls now up 51% this year. Black kids, nearly twice as likely as white kids to die by suicide. I mean, school closures, lockdowns, cancellation of sports. You couldn't even go on a playground in the DC area without cops scurrying, shooing the kids off. Tremendous negative impact on kids, and it's been an afterthought. Yeah. It's hurt their dreams, their future, learning loss, risk of abuse, their mental health. And now with our knowledge, our vaccines, if our policies don't reflect a more measured and reasonable approach for our children, they will be paying for our generation's decisions the rest of their lives. And that, to me, is the greatest underreported story of the past year.
100% correct. There comes a time, and it's difficult to do this, because when you look at what is being done and what is continually being pushed, and the number of sheep falling in line because that's all they hear, it's all they know, and they need to be controlled, they need to live in fear, they need to have the mask on, they need to be outraged by somebody else, whatever the rationale is. When you hear this, there's got to be that common sense side of your brain that gets triggered and fired. And every single time one of these new quote unquote studies has come out, that Fauci or Collins or Walensky or the media or Psaki or Biden, anytime they've gotten behind any of this stuff, and we've done even the most nominal amount of digging, and we've raised flags about the dubious nature of said research, and then we've gotten attacked for spreading misinformation. I've been wrong about none of it. None of it. Is it possible for a Dr. Walensky to turn around and say, it ends now? Or are you so deeply entrenched in the big lie, in the corruption, in this frantic push to test and test and test and test? If everybody would just move along, would they let this story end? Could we actually get back to living our lives? No, because now there is a pill. Now there is a pill that you can be on, that you can take forever, so that you can remain addicted. Remain addicted. Think about that. But Jan Crawford on Face the Nation isn't the only one waking up. How about the dean of the School of Public Health from Brown University? I'm going to play some sound for you coming up in just a minute. Wake up, America. Push back, America, before it's too late. Our friend Tom Yakupin from West Penn Life and Health knows a lot about insurance. He also knows a lot about investing. And he has a great product for people who are concerned about the fluctuations of the stock market. And I think this is really good for somebody who's nearing retirement age, isn't ready to yet take all their money out, still wants to be in the game, but just not with the wild swings that could really compromise their nest egg. And it's called the Safe Money Annuity. What you do is you put at least $5,000 aside and you don't touch it. You don't worry about it. It grows safely, securely, dependably. The first year, a minimum 3.5% interest guaranteed. The rate will fluctuate up or down from there, but you're constantly earning. This is a great alternative to a bank CD and a great idea for maybe a 401k or an IRA rollover. And Tom Yakupin and his team at West Penn Life and Health know how to get the ball rolling for you. 724-228. 7187 is the number to call. westpennlife.com. They do this anywhere in the United States. Check them out. All right, when we come back, I want you to hear this sound. Finally, a dean from the School of Public Health from Brown University is saying what we've been saying, and more people are starting to wake up. We'll tell you about that. Coming up next on the Wendy Bell Radio program. Is it Margaret Brennan? Or was it, I think it's Margaret Brennan.
Yes.
Yes, Margaret Brennan. I put something else on the page and I got, what?
The radio station that we keep talking about where you can hear it is WRTA in Altoona, WRTA.
And the reason we talk about them is because they have it directly linked on their website, if I'm not mistaken.
They literally have an app that's just the audio. It's not the video. It's just the audio.
It's hard to stay focused on my content and to watch you guys and try to gauge what's going on behind the glass.
Nothing's going on.
Really?
You mind your own business.
Running flawless.
That was a really bad throw.
Yeah, we're getting a lot less downloads right now. The panic has subsided.
Now, can you just explain up the audio video bitrate by half?
Yeah, that's one of the things that we did. A lot of you had your app freeze, right? So we cut the bit rate to help so it wasn't getting as choppy. You'd be able to see the stream. So the video is not optimal, but
I prefer that because then you can't see 51-year-old skin.
No, that still comes shining on through.
Yes, because it's fabulous.
Yeah. But so we lowered the bit rate, which helped. But, I don't think tomorrow will be as rocky because we're not going to have the amount of downloads. I mean, literally 1,000 downloads in less 1,500 in an hour. That's a lot for that. That's a lot of downloads. So it really.
Where are we in the App Store? Can you see, or are we?
You know what? They don't update it
Okay.
regularly, but I've been looking. I want to see because
And that's part of the thing too is
still 42 and none of them have changed.
with the 1,500 downloads, it just overworked the server, right?
Well, yeah, because guys, when you sign up, the app actually has to work and use resources because it's creating a password for you or it's accepting yours and it's sending you an email letting you know. So there's a lot going on, and then when we have 3,000 people streaming at one time, it just gets overloaded.
Yeah.
But it won't tomorrow because we have 3 more servers.
and then I'll have triple the bill.
I was just gonna
No,
say.
I mean, it makes me nervous.
Everybody
Like,
else
I'm
was
anxious.
everybody else was excited about that statement except her.
And me.
Well, I hate using you guys as guinea pigs, but this is what we needed to do to find out what we needed to get. So here we go.
All right, so in the next segment, we're going to be talking about the dad who said, "Let's go, Brandon," on that Christmas Eve phone call with Joe Biden, to which Joe Biden said, "Let's go, Brandon." And it sure made headlines and made the left go absolutely crazy. They're losing their shizzle. Wow, we're going to walk through that for you. And I think it's a deeper story than just one man and Joe Biden's response to it, for sure. But before we get to the bottom of the hour break, I did want to play this for you. Dr. Ashish Jha is the dean of the School of Public Health from Brown University. And he's talking in this particular clip, talking about the CDC's test to stay concept. So students have to test if they get exposed to COVID or anybody suspects they have COVID. They have to test to stay in school. Whereas so much of what we know, ladies and gentlemen, which I've already gone over for you, 99.995% survivability, it doesn't add up. And some people now, even on the left, are starting to speak out about it. Here's the first clip with Dr. Jha. Listen.
The CDC is promoting its strategy, Test to Stay. Still more than 800 schools across the U.S. unexpectedly closed this week, according to Burbio, with more than 500 schools closed in the first week of January. Dr. Jha, are we headed for full-scale remote learning? And as a public health matter, who is right in this debate, close versus stay open?
Yeah, this is really unfortunate, Mike. Here we are almost 2 years into the pandemic. We know how to keep schools open. We know how to keep them safe. This really shouldn't even be on the table, and I'm disappointed to see this is happening. We know that for kids, being in school is the right thing for them, for their mental health, for their education. And we have all sorts of tools to keep schools open. So I don't really understand why school districts are doing this. And I think we can keep schools open, and we should absolutely keep schools open.
Okay, so this isn't just elementary school. This isn't just like middle schools like my twins are in, or high school like my middle son. This is college. My sophomore in college at Loyola Marymount University just found out right before Christmas his first 2 weeks are going to be online at a school that is fully vaccinated, at a school whose faculty and staff members are required to be vaccinated. It never ends. What's next? Then the jab, the booster clinic, the mobile booster bus is going to come along. I mean, at some point, you got to get off crazy train and say enough. Thank goodness this gentleman continues, because he underscores what Janet Crawford said on Face the Nation, the irreparable damage we are doing. If you're not willing to stop the craziness for you, by golly, do it for your kids.
What about the other health concerns of shutting down schools in terms of school-age children, such as mental, emotional, physical, and social health?
Absolutely. This is why and I think many of us have said schools should be absolutely the last place to close and the first place to open. There could be times when you have such severe staffing shortages that it may be hard to keep schools going. That really should be the only context, I think, at this point. Otherwise, schools should absolutely be open for the reasons you outlined.
Think about it. There are some children in school who have never been without a mask on. Think about it. Second graders. They've never been in school without a mask. The madness has to end. We're going to pivot. Let's go, Brandon, the dad from Oregon who's got everybody's boxers in a bunch. Holy smokes. That's a right-wing extremist thing to say, but it's okay to hold up a severed head of Donald Trump that's dripping with blood. I get it. We're going to walk through this very interesting debate. And there is no debate. The left is out of its mind. And we'll explain more on that. Coming up on the Wendy Bell radio program. Don't go anywhere.
So the stream should have cleared up for you guys. The downloads are, they're still coming, but not at the rate they were coming. And Jason manipulated the bit rate. Look how much we're all learning. Couldn't have told you what a bit rate was 6 months ago. But I also couldn't have told you how bad big tech was and how they made their money. Jason's been great to walk me through, explain. And I used it last night with my wife. I said, because Jason and I had a conversation yesterday about, Facebook and how they make their money. And he had said to me that every 4 posts on your Facebook feed, the 5th one would be a commercial or an ad. Well, I never got to 5. I got to 3 ad, 2 ad, 4 ad. So I told Kate, and Kate went, well, let me see. So she scrolled. She's like, I have a post. There's an ad, a post, paid sponsor, post. It's like, wow.
And you know what that means, guys, is people think that Facebook just gets paid when you click on an ad. That's not at all true. They get paid per impression.
So if you just scroll by it, that's an impression.
Yes, and you're scrolling by. If you spend an hour on Facebook, you probably just made them $50 by just scrolling on your feed. It's insane.
That's crazy. This is going to be a selfish thing. Think of that. How much did we, by keeping our page ad free?
How much do they make?
Now I'm wondering how much good we have made.
A very pretty penny, but at the same time, there's integrity involved in this show, and it's unbelievable with Facebook.
I think by being honest with people, by saying, look, if we do any kind of ads, it's to cover our costs. I think the people who pay attention to this, you guys understand that, and you're inclined to help us with that, and you're going to be patient with that. And I believe we know that. So it's important. Can I talk briefly about Ireland contracting?
If you tell them that they're rated by us and bourbon and that they've been married for 30 years. I don't know how that's possible.
It would be hard to have a business with your spouse and have it be a successful business and raise 2 kids. Ireland Contracting, Gary and Diane Ireland. Ireland Contracting is Southwestern Pennsylvania's home exterior remodeling expert. And we do say they're A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau's Angie's List, Guild Quality, and also we here at the Wendy Bell Radio program. They're special to me. I've called them twice in terms of an emergency, and both times Gary Ireland has been at my house within an hour, tromping around on my roof, trying to identify what's been going on. You need good people when you're ready to do a home exterior or renovation project. People who do the work, that's the good work, but they stand by it and they charge you a fair price. I don't know how much more you can say about Ireland Contracting than that. 1-800-NEW-ROOF. Go to IrelandContracting.com. They're out of sight. You're going to love them. My
friend just called Ireland.
Did they?
And them coming out and fixing it was, I think he said $200 or $150.
Fixing what?
A piece of his siding came off and blew. It was cheaper than his deductible. He's like, why would I bother turning in? They're cheaper than my deductible. I'm like,
they're just good people.
Yeah,
we really did.
That's what he
very
said.
Basic.
They were out within a day, and
my cousin just
love
because of Wendy Bell.
Love the shirt, not because they're your cousin.
No,
love the shirt. If you want Wendy's shirt, you have to go to the Battlegrounds. That's where
it looks really good on my big
ego.
It does.
Mine's fantastic.
I love that. That is good. Proud member of the LGBFJB community.
Hell yeah.
Sounds kind of dirty, but it's clean.
I made that this morning.
I love that. I'll wear mine tomorrow. That's awesome.
It's the smallest hoodie I've ever seen in the world in my entire life.
The one I'm wearing?
Yes, the one you're wearing.
No, it's not.
It is. It's. I don't know how you can fit that. It's like a baby gap version.
No, it's not.
It's also found in the boys department.
I don't fit.
I guess I don't know. It looks small.
You wear that tomorrow, and I'll wear the battlegrounds tomorrow.
We'll do a reverse.
Yeah.
And break.
Here we go.
I have to admit, it is kind of delicious to watch the absolute meltdown on the left when it comes to Let's Go Brandon. What is it about a clean way of voicing your opinion of a man you don't believe was rightfully, duly, honestly, or lawfully elected, who has done so much damage or has represented the face of whomever the puppeteer is, has inflicted so much harm on this country in such a short amount of time? What is wrong with being clean about saying how you really feel about the human being? You know what? On the left, they're allowed to do whatever the heck they want. Robert De Niro is allowed to host Saturday Night Live or the Oscars or whatever on national television, ladies and gentlemen, and say something so rude, so vulgar, and repeatedly F Donald Trump, F Donald Trump. Can you imagine? Can you imagine saying that? I'm no prude. But I believe as a society, we've become way too cavalier with swearing. It bothers me. It bothers me. I remember once and this had happened actually multiple times when my older two sons were playing soccer. They were on the school soccer team, which is a co-ed soccer team in our little Catholic diocesan school. These are not kids going to the Olympics, ladies and gentlemen. They're playing co-ed and they're having a ball. Well, as luck would happen to have it, my oldest son, Michael, and his team go to the championships of the diocesan soccer tournament. Woo! This is a big deal. We wake up in the morning on a Saturday. We go to where our local professional our soccer team plays, the Riverhounds. We're sitting at this beautiful arena watching the sun come up as boats are going down the Allegheny or the Monongahela River, and there's a train, chugging by us. It's almost summertime, end of the year. It was beautiful. My son ends up scoring the game-winning goal as one of the MVPs. It was storybook. It never happens. And the next day, when I went to school or went to my job at the TV station, I got called into the news director's office. And he said, I wanted to play a voicemail I got, apparently about your performance or your behavior at your son's soccer game. And I said, oh, really? Please play it. And I sat down, and it was a woman who was completely unhinged. Well, she was ticked off that we had won, apparently. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have kids, literally, how many of us are ever going to have kids who go on to play serious competitive sports after the age of high school? It hardly never happens for very few families. I'm not telling you it's my family. It's not. We always wanted the kids to play sports so they could learn how to play, how to cooperate, how to pass the ball, how to take direction, how to lose gracefully, how to win gracefully. There's so much entwined in sports. Never were we the parents who were like, you've got to train, go run, right? It wasn't like that. It was like, you get out of it what you put into it. The choice is yours. So this woman on the voicemail in my news director's office was like, I'm calling to complain about your news anchor, Wendy Bell. Well, I was at a soccer game watching her this weekend, and she was screaming the F word. She said the F word to my son. I will never watch your TV station. Now, anybody who knows me in the school environment knows that not only do I not swear, I'm known for saying things that are ridiculously stupid, unswear words. When you have an outburst, shut the front door. Or, oh, for the love of all that's holy. It sounds angry, but it's not. I'm invoking the love of God, Jesus Christ, right? Well, this woman just proceeded to lie and say that I was unhinged because she was ticked off, one, that my kid beat her kid, and two, that I don't know because I'm cooler than she is. Who knows what the reason was? I would never phone a school district and complain and lie about somebody. I mean, literally, how do you do that? So I said to my news, I got up and he said, and what's your response? And I said, that's ridiculous. Never happened. Never would happen. And quite frankly, I'm insulted that you even brought me in here to inquire about my possible alleged mistake in so doing what I didn't do. This is the left, my friends. It's this weird trigger. They can do whatever they want, but whoa, you want to say, let's go, Brandon, which is a euphemism for FJB. Wow, that is beyond the pale. It's fascinating. It's fascinating in its sadness, to be perfectly honest with you. So, long story here, now short, let's go. Joe and Jill Biden looking like their Christmas best. They look handsome sitting next to each other, all snuggle-bugged in front of a beautiful Christmas tree, taking questions, calls from parents and children who are eagerly waiting Santa Claus's arrival. And they're watching him on the NORAD radar. Some probably like myself wondering why Santa's flying around wearing a mask all by himself, but you know, that's probably a discussion for another day. And a dad happens to phone in. Now, you've probably by now heard the story. Some of you have not. So we did get the video for you, the audio of what ended up transpiring as a 35-year-old Oregon man, father of 4, is one of the few who's been selected to chat with the president and the first lady of the United States. And it's a lovely conversation. They chit-chat. I hope your holiday is great. Merry Christmas. And then this.
Yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful Christmas as well. Merry Christmas, and let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon. I agree. Great.
Okay. Let's go, Brandon. I agree, is Joe Biden's response. People all over the place are going bananas. People who agree with the sentiment of let's go, Brandon, think it's hilarious. I personally think it's sad. Who knows what the reason was for Joe Biden not knowing what was going on? There could have been a million things. It's a bad look, and quite frankly, it's kind of funny. It is. Am I falling over myself thinking it's the greatest thing since, sliced bread? No, but my. The left is not pleased with this. It's completely okay to hold up a severed head of Donald Trump with blood dripping down your arm. It's completely reasonable for a music video to show the fake assassination of Donald Trump. It's completely understandable to make up lies, to create a fake dossier, to go to a federal judge and lie your way into warrants because you say he's in bed with Russia. And then it's okay to drag America through years of ridiculosity that we all knew was garbage. But if you want to do it the clean way, you want to do it the nice way, and you say, let's go, Brandon. Oh, listen to this. This is a headline, I believe on CNN. Parent uses right-wing slur during Biden call with NORAD Santa tracker. First of all, it is not a right-wing anything. It's an American saying that means something very specific. You're ruining our country. And we're tired of watching it happen. It started in college football stadiums, ladies and gentlemen. It started with college kids who arguably are in the bucket of indoctrination, whose brains are being massaged by their liberal teachers, we are told, and we see. If college kids can start the ugly F Joe Biden chant, and then by chance at the Talladega Speedway, the chant of F Joe Biden is then twisted, whether innocently or purposefully, by a sports reporter who says, oh, they're chanting, let's go, Brandon. If that can take an ugly word that I'm not a fan of, nor am I a fan of anyone using in public in any capacity, and soften it to have the same sting of we are so tired of you, then I think it is a fabulous thing.
That might be the only way Joe Biden's helping the economy.
By saying what he said?
Just by people saying, let's go, Brandon, and selling shirts.
The capitalistic entrepreneurial spirit that we have an FU46 shirt. Oh my, some people went absolutely nutty on the left. How dare they? That is so gauche. It is so rude. No, actually it's not. We're done. There's not a single thing that you've done that's good. And by the way, oh, holy pot kettle black. ABC News, father uses vulgar insult during a holiday call with Joe Biden. Vulgar insult. Does anybody out there think let's go, Brandon is vulgar? It's clean, it's funny, and it ticks them off. And the more it does, the more people delight in using it. The stickers next to the gas pump prices. Go into a Home Depot where there's a sign that you got letters and numbers for your door, for your whatever, and it says FJB. Yes? Or let's go, Brandon. Go into a home goods store where they have the big letters that illuminate that you can put on your kid's wall. Let's go, Brandon. Or FJB. It's everywhere. It is literally a national thing. And it's an international thing too, because I've seen people chanting it in Germany, in Italy, in Australia. And it drives the left crazy because it's awesome. It's awesome. But wait until you hear the pushback. Now, the typical left response to all this, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to destroy you. No, you're not. Nice try. Bring it. Bring it. All right. I want to talk about the Disc Institute of Pittsburgh and Dr. Richard Rafferty. In fact, I saw something on Twitter this morning, and I almost jumped on, but I was running late. And somebody I don't know was saying, does anybody have a treatment for degenerative disc disease? And somebody was saying, I get a massage and I stretch, and I wanted to hop on there and say, oh my goodness, you need to call the Disc Institute of Pittsburgh and make an appointment with Dr. Richard Rafferty, because that's what he does. It's called intradisc neutrosis, a non-surgical 98% successful treatment for bulging, degenerating herniated discs. And before you even spend a penny at the Disc Institute of Pittsburgh, you call, you make an appointment, and Doc Rafferty sits down with you, looks at your films, and says, you know what? I think I can help you. Or, you know what? I think you need to have surgery. I'm sorry. Don't you want to know from an expert? 412-906-9600. He gets people from all over the world. PittsburghDiscInstitute.com. Get in touch with them. Wait until you hear how the left is going bananas on this father of four. Doxing him, threatening his life. Really? Over Let's Go Brandon? Oh my. Wait for it. We'll drop the story on you next on the Wendy Bell Radio program. I'm going to do the same thing that we did last week.
Okay, so Tuesday, Thursday. So nothing out.
No. No.
Here's it. Peacock. The best thing about the WBR app is we won't get put into timeout for our comments. Let's just keep it clean. That's all we ask.
Yeah, I'm really not a fan of swearing. I'm really not. I swear. You swear. I get it.
Very rarely.
I get it. It's just not
becoming.
It's just not. I mean, I really dislike it.
Still getting slammed with downloads, which is good, but
what do we have?
We've had about 1,900 since the show began. So,
holy cow!
I just want to know why you all waited so long.
I think a lot of people just mentally push things off until their back is against the wall. They do the Chris Science Project.
You're right.
You know? Oh my gosh, now I have to stress out about it.
Google Play hasn't updated their listing yet, but I think we're going to be in the top 20.
Wow. Globally?
Yes. For news and magazine, yeah.
Wow.
There's not many above us.
What will we be in Fabulosity?
Donna, signing up for pages and have to wait for pending thing. That's because he's getting slammed there too. Yeah.
Everybody wants what they want when they want it. We're very selfish people. This is convenient for me. I want you to do what I want to do.
All right, here we go.
Doesn't work like that. All right, so one more time, CNN. Parent uses right-wing slur during Biden call. Right-wing slur. Give me a break. ABC News. Father uses vulgar insult during holiday call with Joe Biden. So here's the story. The phrase, let's go Brandon, has become popular in right-wing crowds. Factually incorrect, number one. It's become popular in crowds of people who love America and are tired of seeing what's going on with it. How about that? And you don't have to vote Republican. You don't have to be a straight ticket Trumper to see what's going on and to pay the price for it. President Joe Biden was subjected to a right-wing anti-Biden slur during a Christmas Eve call with NORAD Santa Tracker. Biden and the First Lady were speaking with families around the country who had called into the North American Aerospace Defense Command to receive an update on Santa's location when one parent ended the conversation by saying, "Let's go, Brandon." The president did not appear to recognize that the phrase is used by the right wing as a euphemism for F. Joe Biden and responded, "Let's go, Brandon. I agree." Now, let's just talk about that briefly. I feel badly for Joe Biden. I blame Jill Biden. I blame his wife for everything that we are going through. I believe Jill Biden was so hungry to be in the White House. Man alive, this was their due. This is what they were owed. They had to play second fiddle to Barack and Michelle for 8 years, for heaven's sakes. This is our time. kind of like Hillary, right? But she really wants it. You call me Dr. Jill Biden. My husband is a doctor. He doesn't get his boxers in a bunch when somebody calls him Mister. Relax, Jill.
I remember the first time I met Joe, I said, "What would you like to call me?" He's like, "Call me Joe."
Yeah, what do you mean? What do you want me to call you? What, right? The slogan took off in conservative circles after NASCAR driver Brandon Brown was interviewed by NBC Sports reporter Kelly Stavist about his victory at the Talladega Super Speedway in Alabama, October 2nd. The crowd behind the interview began to chant the expletive directed at Biden, but Stavist responded, "You can hear the chants from the crowd. Let's go, Brandon." Whether or not she was covering for it, who knows? It was kind of legendary. I don't think she was necessarily lying. I don't know. I don't care. It started something outstanding. I feel bad for Brandon because he can't get any endorsements, sadly. Sucks to be you, my man. I'm sorry. You've got to find a way to do capitalism with this. Create something.
Maybe we should paint our logo on the hood of his car.
But you know what? Imagine if he was interested, if he had any kind of proclivity into politics. He could totally with this, right? Maybe you need to pivot off of the super speedway and come over to another side. Sometimes God opens the door, right? Since then, the euphemism, "Let's go, Brandon," has been repeated by a number of prominent figures on the right. And Republican members of Congress have even shouted it from the House floor. When the president travels, he's often met by protesters holding "Let's go, Brandon" signs. I can do one better. When the president travels, there's nobody waiting to greet him and celebrate him. It's all people with "Let's go, Brandon" signs. Have you seen any of this stuff? Of course not, because they don't show you. During a campaign event for Virginia Democratic gubernatorial candidate Terry McAuliffe earlier this fall, protesters interrupted the president's speech with "Let's go, Brandon" chants. Well, Jill Biden's spokesperson, Michael LaRosa, called the use of the slur during the Christmas Eve call sick, tasteless, classless, disrespectful, juvenile, and appalling behavior for a parent toward any commander-in-chief. But it's okay for Rashida Tlaib, after her swearing in at a gala in which her young son is next to her, to say, "We're going to impeach the MFer" regarding Trump. And there was no nice euphemism. It was just in your face for all to hear. So which is it? Tactless, rude, vile, or excused, understandable, and A-OK if you're on the left. How long is that soundbite? It's too long for us to play here. I want to get this soundbite for you after the break, because it's one thing to be triggered by "Let's go, Brandon." The fact of the matter is, the reason they are is because we're winning. I'm Charlie Sheening right here. Winning. People are standing up. They're pushing back. And it's such an easy way to do it. It almost feels good, and it really feels good when it triggers the left. But rather than dive down to the cause of the cancer and either excise it or reverse it, we're just going to be upset. We're going to point fingers and say, "That's outrageous." Well, what it is, actually, they're going to blame something else. Oh, yes. All you Trumpers out there, watch out. Because the new marching call coming your way next on the Wendy Bell radio program. Hang with me.
So people asking about to fix the login name. In the upper, if you go to the chat, upper left-hand corner, there's a little box with an arrow. If you click on that, it will log you out. Click on it again, it logs you back in. You can change your name to whatever.
I love Wendy.
Yours should just say Fabulous.
Well,
then people would know.
Fabulous.
Fabulous official.
Oh, please. People are calling for Jason to get a raise. They're really about spending your money.
You guys hurt my chances today by waiting to download the app.
Yeah. That's mighty liberal of you to blame others.
Wow.
No, honestly, we're appreciative. Extremely. The only way we can test is to truly test.
Oh, it's great to see you guys on the stream. This is really fun for me. This is something that we've been talking about for a while, and
July.
Yeah. Everything pushes us in this direction. Stressful as nuts.
Remind me to tell you a story was texting with someone on Christmas.
Okay. Can you tell me now?
No, I can't.
Wow. That was teaser beasery.
I just don't want to forget.
So I just bit into one of Deanie's, I think it was Deanie, maybe not. No, I forget who sent us the caramel nut bar. Oh my gosh. I love caramel. So now it's all in my teeth.
I'm going to try to start cutting back this week to mentally prepare.
You know, your thing is, it's not that you eat too much.
I don't eat properly.
You probably don't eat properly, and your metabolism probably is poor. Yeah. It's like Joe. You know, I can metabolize food like Michael and Bobby and Ryan can metabolize food in a heartbeat. Chris and Jack are different. Everybody's body is different.
Right.
You just are able to, some people can just suck down garbage and others get fat looking at a dinner roll. You know what I mean? It's the way it works. It sucks.
I say, ooh, look at that donut. Oh my gosh, my shirt doesn't fit anymore.
Right. Some of us have really big egos, and some of us are still waiting for theirs to show up.
I drove by Dunkin' Donuts and had to change my clothes because they didn't fit anymore.
See, I don't like donuts. I could do bread and butter and meat. Literally, if you gave me a good loaf of crusty bread with a slab of good butter and just a hunk of beef.
Did I tell you what I made in the air fryer the other day?
No.
So I bought steak before it went crazy on prices and froze them. I made a steak in the air fryer.
Was it frozen or was it thawed out?
I had thawed it
out.
I was put a coffee rub on it, and but it turned out really.
I bought Michael an air fryer for his apartment.
Did you?
Mm-hmm. He was like, "Oh, sweet."
That's what I'm going to go home and cook today for lunch. It's another steak. I had 3 and I had to defrost them all.
I look forward to who's going to want to reach out next and sponsor the show. Now that we have Nemacolin done.
Yes.
We have a space. Wow. We have a space. I would love for there to be like a company that made an air fryer, made some device that I love. I would love to get behind a business like that. That was, that had a special niche. I'm all down with that.
I was surprised how good it was, though. Like,
really,
it got a crusty top, like it almost like fried, but it was perfect in the middle. I was shocked.
How long did you do it and at what temperature? Oh God.
I don't know. I looked it up on the
Google machine,
like
on the interweb.
Cookbook. Yes.
Did you call Al Gore and thank him for inventing it?
Thanks for my steak, Al. The best thing to do, I think I cooked it on 400 for like
400. Was it 400?
You have to flip it. You do have to flip it. I think I cooked it for like 6 minutes, flipped it 6 minutes, and then I went back in for like 3, flip, 3, flip.
The next thing you need to do is you need to get a Instant Pot.
I do. I need an Instant Pot.
Those are pretty slick. Because you can saute in there
I was
and
going
then
to use
add
my
all your
Christmas
broth.
bonus on that, but
Mm-hmm. You ended up doing what with it instead? Oh.
but I didn't. What did I do?
Oh, don't play, my man. You'll lose that battle.
I don't know
even
what
start.
you're talking about.
Don't even start. Mm-mm.
I cashed in my life insurance policy
Mm-hmm.
and got an iPad.
Mm-hmm. I like that you're representing Tom Yakupin, West Penn Life and Health with your hat.
No, it's a comfortable hat.
Yeah, they look nice.
I'm hoping to get
I was just gonna say.
the Wendy Bell Network hat this week, which means so will all of you. Hopefully.
Let me go into my 1,700 new emails since I got to the station. See, because I did get a UPS.
He gets an email for every person that signs up for the app. So we see you, certain people
Wow.
who pretend they don't watch and listen.
Wow, that sounded creepy.
The hats are here. I'm going to have one tomorrow.
They were delivered at 8:59.
Sammy, yours is first out. I think it was Sammy who's been waiting for a hat also. Oh boy. Is it? Well, you gotta. Yeah, I would hope so.
I wish I wore hats more, but it messes up my fabulous hair.
Can't wait to see it.
Rat's nest. What? Oh, stand by.
Duly noted.
Stand by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Using facts to take on the woke politicians, triggered leftists, and the corporate media.
You just got to try harder not to suck.
Live across the fruited plain and from sea to shining sea, you're listening to the Wendy Bell radio program.
Welcome back, everybody. Hour 3. My goodness, you guys are making this day just move on along on the Wendy Bell radio program, your home for common sense conservatism. So I wanted to play this sound for you. I got a little long in the last segment, but CNN, I don't think they're understanding what's really going on here. There has to be a moment in time when you realize what you're doing is not working. There's a great way to find out. It's called your ratings, right? It's like starting a new website and having it be subscription based, and then nobody subscribes. Well, you probably got to do an about face and reevaluate your business model. But it seems like in this country, the ultimately triggered leftist, Marxist, communist, socialist, progressive side is completely resistant to modifying anything that they're doing. It is 100% full steam ahead, and anybody who doesn't exactly believe that what they believe needs to be destroyed. I mean, can you believe that the dad who said to Joe Biden on Christmas Eve, "Let's go, Brandon," now has gotten doxxed? People are getting in touch with his employer. He works for an electric company. He was a cop for several years. He's a dad in Oregon who now says he wasn't trying to trick anybody. He didn't create some con. He wasn't trying to fool anyone. He was using that First Amendment thing that is slipping ever more through our fingers and expressed how he felt about the condition of this country and said it in a clean way on Christmas Eve. Let's go, Brandon. But he should lose his job. In fact, any morsel of anything unsavory he's ever done should see the light of day. I hope when he was in high school, he got into a fight with someone. Let's dig that up and parade it for everybody to see. because you know it's just a matter of time. I don't even need to tell you who this fellow is. His name is completely irrelevant. But this is the left. You're not allowed to crack a joke. You're not allowed to tell the truth. You're not allowed to be provocative because we must be a boring, humorless, corrupt America. That's the plan. So CNN is in a complete freefall. Having spent 24 years of my life in television news, I can tell you firsthand, it is all about ratings. Ratings equal ad rates equal money. Money is all anybody cares about. They don't care about you on television. They don't care listeners, viewers. They don't care. They care about the money. You don't make money when your ratings are atrocious. And still, as CNN falls further into the basement, this is the kind of garbage that they choose to put out. So you're going to see this CNN story now here as they're talking about this Let's Go Brandon thing. And this father, oh, how gauche, how classless, how rude. This is an editor, a senior editor at The Atlantic. Listen to what he says and then realize that crazy land is still in full play out there. Go ahead.
Let's Go Brandon, for those that don't know, is slang for F Joe Biden. Ron, the president is trying to be nice to kids. He doesn't really have to do this. They were very pleasant. What does it tell you that somebody is rude like that and disrespects the office of the president to his face about the political climate in this country?
Yeah, look, it's ungracious, it's juvenile, it's reprehensible by the father. But I don't think it's fundamentally about incivility. I think it is fundamentally about insurrection. I don't know the individual, but the whole Let's Go Brandon kind of motif is a reflection of the view, 2/3 of the Republican base, driven by Trump's claims, false claims, and the big lie that Biden is an illegitimate president. And it reflects as well the findings in multiple polls by the American Enterprise Institute, Vanderbilt University, and others, that a majority of Republican voters now say the American way of life is disappearing so fast, the traditional American way of life, that we may have to use force to save it. I think you're seeing this is a manifestation not just of incivility, but of the fundamental view of the illegitimacy and the ominous shores that we're kind of sailing toward very quickly in 2022 and especially 2024.
It's almost like where to begin. Where do you begin with that? Is it the host who says, the president didn't have to do this? He's being gracious. And then bringing in this fellow, let's see what his name is, Ron Brownstein. This is a manifestation not just of incivility, but of the fundamental view of the illegitimacy and the ominous shores that we're kind of sailing toward very quickly in 2022 and 2024. The only thing really ominous that we're sailing towards is the collapse of today's Democratic Party at the hands of the progressivists who have gone off the rails. That's where we're sailing. It's not because of insurrection. And there's a side of me that wants to ask seriously, do you really believe this? Are you really that out of touch? Because Let's Go Brandon is very basic. Let's Go Brandon equals a president who doesn't answer questions. Okay? Let's Go Brandon illustrates problems getting what you want to buy at a cost you can afford to pay at your stores, specifically during his first year in office. Let's Go Brandon equals sky-high gas prices and the outrageous increase in things for basic commodities that we have taken for granted. I don't know, meat, fresh fish, furniture, automobiles. Let's Go Brandon illustrates the feeling of so many hundreds of millions of Americans as they see the southern border open and porous as 2 million This year alone, illegal migrants will cross into our country, and it's been safely estimated now that something to the terms of 600,000 of them have never been tested for COVID. Let's Go Brandon illustrates the frustration of America dealing with a president, one, they don't believe actually won, two, demanding that he has the power to force them to get a vaccine. Let's Go Brandon illustrates the fear many people have as they see reports of people suffering adverse events from these vaccines, and knowing that because of the way this deal was structured, if something goes sideways with you or someone you love, you have no recourse. There is no way to sue. There's no one to blame. Let's Go Brandon means that in the year 2021, in the land of the free, our freedoms are slipping through our fingers at an alarming rate. So if I could sit down with this Ron Brownstein and share with him the reality of Let's Go Brandon, you either know that, sir, or you're really out of touch. And I don't know which one is worse. The Atlantic senior editor slammed the father who got Biden to say, let's go Brandon on Friday. He didn't get Biden to say anything. I don't believe that father was trying to trick Joe Biden into doing anything. That father spoke from his heart. Let's go, Brandon. What the president did with it was his choosing. He called the prank ungracious, juvenile, and reprehensible. It wasn't a prank. And it was neither ruthless or, ungracious, juvenile, or reprehensible. But this is the part that gets me, ladies and gentlemen. But I don't think it's fundamentally about incivility. I think it's fundamentally about insurrection. I don't know the individual, Brownstein told the CNN panel, but the whole let's go Brandon kind of motif is a reflection of the view 2/3 of the Republican base driven by Trump's false claims and the big lie that Biden is an illegitimate president. Where are you getting 2/3 of the base? Where are the fact checkers on these people? And it reflects as well the findings in multiple polls that a majority of Republicans now say the American way of life is disappearing so fast from a traditional way of life that we may have to use force to save it. I feel like that. Why do you think there is a race when Biden and Kamala Harris won? Why do you think there was a race on background checks? Why do you think ammunition became almost impossible to find? Why do you think more females and African Americans bought guns for the first time in their lives? Why do you think that is? Because America has changed. It's palpable. We live it every single day, Mr. Brownstein. You cannot be that out of touch to not see what's going on. When 41% of Democrats even believe it was somewhat likely that cheating happened in the November presidential election last year, 4 in 10, Houston, you've got a big problem. A big problem. I have to tell you quickly, I had one of the most amazing weekends of my life. And it was capped off yesterday by Joe and myself and Brock taking our 5 sons to the battlegrounds to shoot each other. It was the most fun we've had in a while. I tell you about the battlegrounds. I tell you to go to their website, thebattlegroundspa.com. I can tell you we showed up at 10 a.m. on a Sunday morning and the place was packed. People ready to have a good time, to live life, to spend time with family and friends, to enjoy entertainment. And we started off soft. What were the guns called? The little jobbies?
They were like a gel.
Like a little gel, like a bath bead that we were shooting at each other. It doesn't hurt. And then we graduated to the airsoft guns. Oh my gosh. We were sweating. We were laughing. We were running around like lunatics. And for 2 hours, I didn't think about any of this stuff. I just thought about enjoying time with the people I love. Simple as that. Because of that experience, I can tell you a bunch of things about the Battlegrounds. The number one most important is to check out their website. This is the greatest place to have a party, a celebration, to spend time with your kids, to get your kids' friends together, to do a corporate retreat, whatever. It is a great time. Thebattlegroundspa.com. Call 412-530-2192. Check them out on Facebook. Go to YouTube, Instagram, and go to thebattlegroundspa.com. Trust me, it is amazing. Brock is shaking his head going,
It was way more fun. And when I went home, my shirt was soaked.
oh my gosh.
I was
It is a
soaked.
total workout and a blast.
And if you can get your boss to go, the feeling of taking a
Wow.
shot is kind of nice.
Well, Brock decided to take me out when I had my sights set on my husband.
I had Joe's sick.
I was locked and loaded and ready to go, and then you got me. Thebattlegroundspa.com. All right, quick commercial break. When we come back, I want to go over something here that the about face is necessary at places like CNN, and I've got the data to prove it. They owe it to their people. They owe it to America. I'll explain why. Coming up next on the Wendy Bell Radio program. Well, it looks like what I'm seeing on this stream is people are finding that everything's kind of settled down a little bit.
Yes.
Which is what you had predicted.
Yeah, again, it's because we cut the audio bit rate by half and also video down to 240, which is as low as you can go. We're still getting smashed with downloads.
Which means you might see IP address limited exceed.
Yes, that is not us.
That's not us. That's Google Play, right?
And if you guys don't mind, we have like 5 negative reviews because of that. It's not on us.
Yeah, please don't. If you want a negative review, please negative review because you don't like
me,
Wendy. But that's something that we can't do. That's out of our control is what I'm trying to say.
I love that my watch is barking at me to become more active. Well,
Actually, too, if you wouldn't mind rating us after the show and giving us 5 stars, that helps us.
Definitely.
Not that you don't help us already.
We're still streaming at 2300.
Wow.
22 p.m. I'm sorry, a.m.
That's huge.
Yeah. Wimkin has 900 people, so.
Real life topics and with 14 languages to choose from.
I did have thank you for I had a blast yesterday. And what was really nice too is that the party that got there the same time we did, their grandmother bought them. Matt was saying their grandmother bought them the party
for Christmas because
for a Christmas gift for the day after Christmas. So it's a lot of fun.
And we presume that it was because she might.
That's what he said.
Have heard it from here.
Yeah.
Which is great.
I slept through it.
Yes, for the person who said where was Jason, Jason slept through it. So
some people have priorities.
Yeah, we're apparently not important enough for Jason to.
I slept more in one weekend than I did.
Probably all last week.
Here we go.
I was looking at some ratings, some new TV ratings came out, and it's not looking good for CNN, and it shouldn't. You know, I think people are speaking not just by saying, let's go, Brandon, and think of what, think of that what you will. That's certainly your prerogative. I'm not telling you that that's the thing to do, but I get it. And for anybody to conflate that as being something that's awful, you know what? Please, I'm not even going to give you time. 17th place. CNN has slid to 17th place. They are down 4% in total day viewers since last week. They're down 13% in total prime time viewing. And they had the second lowest Sunday prime time since 1997, a week ago. The second lowest since 1997. The CNN ratings have now fallen behind the Hallmark Channel, behind Home and Garden TV, behind the Food Network, behind Freeform, or below, I should say, which plays Disney and Pixar movies, and also below ISNP, which is a family channel featuring Westerns, and Lifetime, which specifically caters to women. Total viewers for CNN last week, 501,000 total. Fox News, 1.474 million. No wonder Brian Stelter and Don Lemming and others take such umbrage with people who are in the lead. This is what's very concerning, though. You know, there is definitely a coordinated effort at CNN, working in conjunction with the Biden administration, to change the messaging on COVID. So we said this last week. Brian Stelter, Brock, remember when we said we got the Brian Stelter sound where he was softening his stance on COVID, and we both looked at each other and said, something's going on here. I don't trust this. He was talking about living with COVID. And that actually was running as a chyron underneath his name. Living with COVID, saying that we needed to reassess the approach and arguing that kids should no longer be kept out of schools because it was harmful. They're pivoting. Joe Biden, who promised he was going to get rid of COVID. Donald Trump couldn't do it. We can. Well, no, you can't, because it's a virus. Joe, it's a virus. So the slide continues. There's a gentleman who works at CNN named Chris Cillizza. I don't know if he's on the air. My suspicion is yes. He seems to have had this revelation as well. After 18 months, seeing folks at CNN actually being truthful is a little jarring. He wrote this, tweeted, I've been thinking a lot about why the latest surge has hit me so hard, and I think it's because I've been fooling myself to some extent for the last 18 months. Because the reality is, and has always been, even if I didn't realize it, that the vaccines don't really prevent you from getting the virus, or at least they don't guarantee it won't happen. Really? Really? So everything that we've been saying, everything that we've been pushing back against, everything that's been honest, every bit of research that we've done, the studies that I've put up endlessly on the BS board, the reasons why I've been permanently banned from YouTube. Do you know how few people have been permanently banned from YouTube? And I'm one of them. Really? What happens when the truth comes out about the reactions to this vaccine? What happens when it's proven that people have died, and that they've died in numbers far greater than we were ever allowed to know? What happens when we find out about our children suffering irreparable effects? It's one thing for CNN to do a quick mea culpa. Yeah, I'm thinking that we're going to have to kind of live with COVID forever. It's not really going to go away, after he railed on Ron DeSantis for Ron DeSantis's policies. But now, nursing homes. New Jersey willing to open up $53 million to families who lost loved ones. What's this all about? And is your blue state governor next on the Wendy Bell Radio program? Do you have those cards?
They're in my car.
Oh, that's helpful.
Wow.
I'll write them while I'm driving.
I could have said they're still in the store. How helpful would that have been? I think they're in the back seat, but I don't know. I don't know where they're at. She can get them on the way out. No. For people, I guess, the radio thing went out. I can't control that. So, sorry. That's out of my control. Why would you buy a loser? That's their live stream. They're not even playing their commercials. It's technology. Technology is not perfect. Yes, to view this, Wimkin directed us to YouTube. That was one of our backups, just in case. For us to live stream to Wimkin would have been kind of pointless because it would have been the same stream, which would have put even more strain on the stream. I will highly recommend the Battlegrounds, though. If you have kids, I mean, it was a blast. It was an absolute blast. It's funny, the airsoft, it doesn't really hurt. There's like a quick sting and then you're done. But the gels don't hurt at all. And everybody's all about shooting the gels, right? It's like, and everybody, they'll run right up to you. And then we started with the airsoft and everybody just hid. No one wanted to get shot. So the strategy difference between the gels and the airsoft are completely different. You go from I'm okay with getting shot because they're gels to I'm gonna wait and see how this feels before I worry about getting shot.
It wasn't
and then I
bad.
got lit up by your kid with he's standing point blank right at me. I'm on his team. And he just like panicked. He's like, do. And he went like right up me. I'm like, my man, I'm on your team. He's like, I thought you were someone different. I said, I sure as hell hope so.
Ryan was very trepidatious.
He was.
I was running. Like, I'd come out and I was like, let's go. I'm like, whatever.
And Michael and I kind of.
Ryan's like, he's like this in the background. He doesn't want to get hit.
Right. Michael and I kind of cheated. The one point. Someone got me. Yeah, someone got me.
He used you for cover.
And I said, hey, I'll walk out like this because they can't shoot me because I have my hands up. He literally put his gun right on my shoulder. He's like, do.
You know what? And I told Matt, the owner of the Battlegrounds, I told him, I said, you created a page in my mental family album.
No doubt.
That was, and as a parent, there is no greater gift. And it ends up being like, if you had a party of 10, it ends up being $35 a person for 2 hours of play. I mean, it's ridiculously affordable and so worth it. And the remote control stuff that they just did with the crawlers and this, I've never seen anything like it. The kids were chattering about it all day long.
Maybe this is the best plug I can give. I'm going back.
Oh, yeah.
And you said Michael said the same thing. I'm about ready to text me like, hey, you want to go shoot people again? Although Joe looked like he had a blast.
Oh my God. He was white. He went
He's
home
like,
and
"I'm
passed
taking
out.
people out."
Yes, he was hardcore.
I'm glad he was on my team.
He was hardcore.
He was just about taking
He shot me
people out.
multiple times. I'm like, oh, really? I'll hold that against you.
It felt, when I came around that corner, I see you getting ready to light up Joe, and you couldn't see me. I'm like, oh, yeah. I'm like, doo-doo.
Yeah, and it hurt on my thigh.
Hey, pay attention.
Really? Okay.
I'm stealthy even at my size, I'm stealthy.
Well.
You didn't see it coming. Here we go.
I remember scratching my head about, I would say, late last summer, maybe middle of the summer, when the governor of Pennsylvania, along with the governor of Connecticut, New Jersey, New York, and one or two others, I forget the blue state conglomerates, where they decided to band together and they were going to do everything lockstep exactly the way each other was. Michigan, Whitmer, they formed this coalition of bad decision making to sort of like everybody do the wrong thing together. And we'll roll the dice and see how this goes in regard to COVID and specifically nursing homes. So all of them kind of walk in the same path. They're all going to mandate that elderly folks with COVID in the hospital are put back in their nursing homes. I don't know why this felt like a good decision in the terms of isolation and the high infectability, the transmissibility, the things we knew a lot about COVID more than a year ago. And yet all of these governors made this terribly tragic decision to put sick people who can die at any moment for any number of reasons, who had tested positive, to get them out of the hospital and put them back in their nursing homes. And what happened? How many hundreds of thousands of people died in nursing homes, ladies and gentlemen? And who's accountable? Is anybody accountable? Is anybody saying to the families whose loved ones were in virtual solitary confinement, who were scared and not connected to the outside world? Does anybody have any kind of explanation, or I'm sorry, or my golly, did we blow that? At a very base level, there's something meaningful about what we do here every day. Now, those of you who listen on the radio, hear my voice. Those of you who listen and pay attention on the Wendy Bell Radio Network app can watch and listen. There's nothing extraordinary about watching what I do. I'm standing in a box with a microphone talking to you. And yet every day we have tens of thousands of people who watch for 3 full hours. We have hundreds of thousands of others who tune in later. Why? Because there is a connection. There is this thing between you and me. There's this missing thing going on with our government. How can you be so disconnected from children or from the elderly? And at what point do you have to say, we made a tragic mistake and we have to pay for it? There's no way to bring back the person that you lost in that nursing home. But we made poor decisions and we've got to be accountable. Well, New Jersey apparently is the first state to pay out millions of dollars over nursing home COVID deaths. Will New York, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and California follow? What made it particularly egregious to go through last year here in the land before time is that before our transgender Secretary of Health failed upwards to become an admiral in whatever health corps she's an admiral in, Rachel Levine decided to move her mom out of said nursing home before things got real and then lied about it. My mom decided she wanted to leave. I don't know about you guys, but I don't know that many women in their early 90s who are cognizant of an impending virus, a maelstrom of mismanagement, who look on the horizon and say, you know what, I think things can go kind of sideways here. Can you get me out of here so I can go somewhere else? Really? So she saves her own mother's life. Said she didn't. I'm going to feel otherwise. Meanwhile, how many other families lost people they loved dearly? They weren't there in the nursing home to hold their hands. They weren't there to tell the person they love who raised them, Mom, I love you. It's okay. You can go now. These people died alone in sterile, cold, loveless environments. This is our greatest generation. And that's what happened. So now it seems New Jersey is going to pay out $53 million to settle claims with the state's negligence contributed to the deaths of more than 100 veterans at state-run homes during the coronavirus pandemic. Why is it just veterans? Several Democrat-run states, including New York, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and California, had a policy not to turn away patients who tested positive for the coronavirus. And as a result, COVID spread wildly and wiped out thousands of nursing home patients in these Democrat-run states. Listen to these numbers. A 2020 study revealed 45% of all U.S. coronavirus deaths occurred in nursing homes. 45%. This just in. How many times did you have news breaks on your local radio station? How many times did you see front page articles spreading the fear that more people were dying? More people, oh my goodness. When 1 out of every 2 deaths in 2020, according to this study, happened inside nursing homes and may likely could have been prevented. Only 0.6% of the United States population lives in nursing homes, ladies and gentlemen. 0.6. But over 45% of the deaths last year happened there. In August 2020, the Department of Justice requested data from 4 Democrat. This is Donald Trump's administration. The DOJ under Trump last August, asking officials, governors, Democrat governors from New York, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and California to tell them more about their orders to send sick COVID-19 patients to nursing homes. 5 Democrat governors actually sent COVID patients into nursing homes. But Friday, when none of us was paying attention, on Christmas Eve, apparently the Biden Department of Justice dropped all the investigations into the Democrat governors who tossed the sick COVID patients into the nursing homes, killing tens of thousands of them. Why is that? This is sick for me to say. Is it possible that there was a concerted effort among the Democrats in an effort to boost the fatality numbers to require older people with COVID be put into nursing homes? To spread a virus among those who are already frail and in danger. Now, New Jersey will pay out $53 million for their deadly mistake. Philadelphia 10 reporting, New Jersey will pay about $53 million to settle claims that the state's negligence contributed to the deaths of more than 100 veterans at state-run homes during the coronavirus pandemic. Attorneys representing the bulk of the claimants said Thursday. The settlement reached this week involved the families of 119 residents of veterans' homes in Paramus and Menlo Park. I think it's Paramus, I don't know. According to attorney Paul DaCosta. DaCosta's firm represented 72 of the claimants who will receive about $32 million in total. The families had filed notices of intent to sue, but hadn't yet formally filed those lawsuits. Quote, the settlement, of course, does not replace their lost loved ones who served their countries honorably, but it certainly represents a good measure of civil justice. DaCosta said, my clients do take satisfaction in the fact that there's been a resolution that they believe gives a voice to their lost loved ones. Who's paying that $53 million? It's not like the governors of these states are. I'm going to guess it's probably your taxpayer dollars at work. You know, from another one of those bloated bills that doesn't do anything to move the needle. More than 200 residents of the homes have died during the pandemic, and this is in 2 counties. Democratic Governor Phil Murphy's administration came under criticism in April 2020 when it directed veterans' homes not to turn away patients who tested positive, an order that was later rescinded. So tell me, why on Friday did the Biden Department of Justice drop all of the investigations into the Democrat governors who tossed the sick COVID patients into the nursing homes? See, in the United States of America, you can be a complete derelict at your duties. You can make decisions that kill thousands of people and not be held responsible. You can say F Donald Trump. You can spend years and waste millions of dollars trying to claim something that was never true, all to hide your own gross negligence and malfeasance. I draw the line at kids and seniors. I draw the line at policies that we know better than. I find it audacious that here in the land before time, we have a man as our Attorney General who was completely vacant during the whole beginning of this pandemic. In fact, the only reason he's come out of his hiding is because he believes he should fail upwards to be the next lackey blue governor of this state. He wasn't fighting for small businesses. He wasn't out championing everybody, Republicans and Democrats alike. He wasn't out helping people stay afloat or commiserating with them or speaking the truth. He was hiding. And now he wants to be governor. It's up to the state of Pennsylvania to do better. Same with New Jersey, same with California, same with Michigan, and same with New York, among others. But don't you find it very peculiar that Joe Biden's Department of Justice would withdraw their request from information from the blue state governors whose poor decision-making resulted in the deaths of nearly 1 in every 2 Americans in this country in the year 2020. Let that sit with you for a while, and then tell me why Let's Go Brandon is a thing. More Gains Fitness welcomes you to join one of their 4 fitness facilities in Somerset and Cambria counties. The places are amazing. If you go to moregainsfitness.com, MORGAINZ. You'll see what Kelly and Dave Morgan have created, an empire of fitness and wellness, of camaraderie, of shared health goals. Look, there is something palpable about getting your body in shape. Brock and I have been talking about this in the commercial breaks. getting through the holidays might be your time. And when you're ready to get on the treadmill, when you're ready to sign up that personal trainer, when you're ready to take a Zumba class or yoga or get into kettlebells or whatever, and you're ready to get your body back, do it at More Gains Fitness. You'll love them. MORGAINZ fitness.com. Proud sponsors of this program. We are proud friends of the Morgan family. All right, when we come back, interesting. An opinion piece. The puzzle of Joe Biden's unpopularity. I don't know about you guys. Are you puzzled by this? We'll wrap up the show with that. Coming up next on the Wendy Bell Radio program.
I don't want to harp, guys, but please, if you're going to rate us a 1-star, make sure it's our fault first. We can't control what Google Play does. If you can't get into the app or download the app, that's not on us. So please, if before you rate a 1-star, and ultimately you can rate whatever you want, make sure reach out to Jason through the app or his Jay Shepard at Dream Team webdesign.com and make sure it's our fault first, because if it is something we can do and can fix, we'd rather do that than get the 1-star. Yeah, and to rate us, there's 3 dots at the top.
You know
right
what?
here.
Here's what I would say.
I'm just telling them how to rate.
But why? Stop. There's no need to rate anything before you get experience here. Wait and feel what we're doing. You know, I understand the inclination in this immediate, I need to respond and share what I think. When you go to a restaurant and if you get a meal that you don't like, you know, you have the choice to never go back. And you can also go on and say, they were terrible. What we're saying is, get comfortable with us. See what you like. And if you have problems, communicate with us. There's no reason for anybody to rate anything that's new. That's almost idiotic. What we need is your feedback. We need your response. We need your patience. I don't need your rating right now. I need us to figure out how we're going to get this rolling. That's what I need.
Here we go.
You know, John D'Onofrio is the lawyer I trust with some of life's most delicate and personal matters, including passing your wealth on to the people you love after you're gone. John helps people like you and me make estate plans and set up trusts. And with nearly 40 years of experience, he guides you through the legal maze to tailor a customized plan, an estate plan that is right for you. This is not a one-size-fits-all business. And he is the expert I believe in. He's a friend, he's a patriot, and you're going to love him. Call him today. Attorney John D'Onofrio, 412-928-2068. I find this opinion piece in the Washington Post, written by Fareed Zakaria, puzzling in and of itself. And it's entitled this: The Puzzle of Joe Biden's Unpopularity. I want to read a little bit of this to you because I do believe there is a tragic disconnect. You know, when Donald Trump was president, I can see how people took umbrage with his style, with his messaging, with some of the things he said. I was able to separate things that I didn't care for with the ultimate endgame of the man's policies. I appreciated his America First approach. I appreciated how he handled the United Nations. I appreciated how he said, you know what, we're tired of being the bank account and the police force of planet Earth. Everybody needs to pay their fair share. And I appreciated how he put the emphasis on American jobs and American products, American gas, America first. But I understood. Like, I get it. I'm not totally tone deaf. I understood how some people felt the way they felt. But for Fareed Zakaria to be puzzled by Joe Biden's popularity, all one needs to do is remember the video that we played for you on Christmas Eve of nurses dancing and singing to a virtual show tune, wearing dark blue scrubs with pagers on their hips, pretending as though they were actually performing a song. You know, the frontline workers, that Omicron is going to be grossly overwhelming. You know, Omicron that's going to kill all of these unvaccinated, selfish people. It's that complete disconnect, that tone deaf, what? Are you for real? This is what you think is appropriate on Christmas Eve or appropriate ever? Please. So here's how the article begins. I find President Biden's unpopularity puzzling. He's rounding out his first year in the White House with his lowest end of first-year approval ratings, with the lowest end of first-year approval ratings of any elected president in modern times, with the exception of Donald Trump. Why? Biden is a genial, likable person. Hey, Fareed, that's not what makes a leader. A leader is not genial or likable. It's about results. Maybe that's the first piece of your puzzling that you probably need to reconcile. The country is doing reasonably well economically. Reasonably well economically? As measures such as declining unemployment, the stock market, and interest rates demonstrate a disconnect. It's not about Wall Street. It's about what's going on your street, what's going on in your kitchen, what's happening with your ability to pay your bills. How don't they understand that? One has to remember that Biden is something of an accidental president. He got elected for two reasons, neither of which had anything to do with his personal popularity. First, Barack Obama chose him as vice president, which instantly elevated him to the Democratic field. Second, Donald Trump. Had these two factors not been present, it's difficult to imagine Biden in the White House. This is an idiotic approach by a guy who's a CNN regular and a columnist for the Washington Post. Do you not hear what we are saying? We are saying, let's go, Brandon, because you are so woefully out of touch. This is not complicated. Why are you so entrenched in your camp that you can't even venture out to have a regular conversation with somebody who doesn't share your views? It's your refusal to listen, Fareed. It is your inability to hear what the rest of America is saying. We're not about fake White House sets. We're about a president who's able to answer questions. We don't have that. We are tired of being told that we are wrong. And we're tired of being told that we can't make decisions for our own families or our own bodies without losing our jobs. How don't you understand? There is no puzzle, sir. The only thing that's puzzling to the rest of us is where in the hell you have been. Wake up. Pay attention. Look around you. And for heaven's sakes, start giving a damn like we do. I got fussy. Sorry, sometimes it bubbles out at me. Thank you to those of you joining our Wendy Bell Radio Network stream. Please download the app to watch us live Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to noon. We'll be back here tomorrow. Until then,